Hello, fellow homebrewers. JP here, and I want to introduce to you the brand new Brew Built X1 Conical Series available at More Beer. More Beer sells the highest standard in homebrewing equipment, and the Brew Built Conicals are just that. They're made from mirror-polished 304 stainless steel, and they come with loads of features that you and I have been looking for. They have a full 2-inch bottom dump valve, which will eliminate your clogging issues, while the sturdy base includes 4 reinforced legs, just like those big Pro tanks do. More Beer also carries the Brew Built line of options and add-ons like casters, pressure kits, and even external glycol chillers. So you can find out more about the new Brew Built X1 Conical Unitanks by going over to morebeer.com for detailed videos on the entire line of Brew Built Conicals. You can trust Brew Built with your next fermentation, and you can trust More Beer to find the right conical for you. Brew Built at morebeer.com.
Great beer is about drinkability. Doesn't matter the style.
You guys are like walking beer Wikipedia. That's the first time that you've ever accepted me as a person.
Or you have a fermentation in your gut.
I'm jet propelled at all times.
How many guys do you think that you have the privilege to slap?
Somebody who's never tasted a commercial example, and this is how you know everything about this beer? Please, you don't.
I think that's bullshit.
I think it's bullshit too.
Wow. Are you guys going to arm wrestle?
No.
They're going to teabag fight instead.
Yeah. You heard of Junkyard Wars?
Can I get another high five, Beavis?
Now, live from the Brewing Network studios in Northern California, this is the radio program for home brewers, craft brewers, beer lovers, and beer geeks. It's your only source for live beer radio that brings expert brewers together with, well, expert drinkers. This is the radio program with a head on it. This is The Session.
Welcome, everybody, to The Session. Here we are, back at it on Monday night. And, of course, we're here with another great brewery guest. But before I get to them, I want to thank our sponsor, More Beer. You can go to morebeer.com and get everything you need to make great beer at home. And, of course, when I say beer, I also mean cider and wine and root beer and coffee and kombucha and sake. I think they still have the little sake kits. I'm not actually entirely sure. What else could you probably do? I don't know. You could probably ferment your own urine if you want. Who knows? If you want an expert in aging your own urine, it's probably not going to be morebeer.com. However, it doesn't hurt to ask. So please send an email to info@more. No, I'm just kidding. But anyway, More Beer brings you this show and every show that we do here, basically, since before day one. So thank you very much to them. All right. What's going on, everybody? We are here with BKS Artisan Ales in Brookside, Missouri. We are joined by... My notes are all fucking wiggy right now. Sorry, boys. Where did that everything go? My God. There. Yep. Okay, got it. We are joined by Alex and Brian from BKS Ales. What's going on, everybody? How you guys doing?
Good. How are you doing? Thank you for having us on.
Not too bad. Yeah, thank you very much, man. Whenever my notes go south, I get flustered, man. You'd think I'd be doing this a little bit longer, and so I'd be like, oh, I could just roll with it. I can't. I'm not a roll with the punches guy. I need like things. Anyway, it's incredible how bad I am, but that's okay. Oh, man. But I got your beers, and I'm excited about them. They came still a little cold, which I was really happy about. I was sort of impressed with that. Yeah, just a little tiny little hint of cold air on them. So that was really cool. Got the glass. So we have 6 beers to taste plus a barley wine. I'm going to try to get to the barley wine. We'll see if that happens. I'll do my best.
We understand.
It's the wintertime, getting a lot of those. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, I really appreciate you guys sitting in beer. That was really nice and taking the time. So you guys are near Kansas City, right? If I got my locations properly?
Yes, we are in the what's called Brookside neighborhood of Kansas City.
Okay.
Older neighborhood, kind of between suburbs and downtown Kansas City area. And we are the only brewery, I would say about 45 blocks from where we are to downtown. So there's a pretty wide swath between there with no craft breweries at all. And then just a little bit past us, as you get further past us towards the suburbs, you have there's one brewery, but kind of a wasteland between us and downtown.
I feel like that'll change in 2 months.
Yeah, it changes fast.
Yeah,
that's really great. 45 blocks. That's wow. Yeah, that's a good little wasteland to sort of be an oasis in.
Yeah, we have the neighborhood here. Is kind of made up of it's a mix of a lot of different folks that live here, but everybody in this neighborhood, this is like the area where there's like one of the highest concentrations of craft beer drinkers, and I happen to live 9 blocks away from the brewery, so
it's not bad.
It's a great thing for me. I can walk to work every day.
Yeah, that's not bad at all, man. Do me a favor before we get too far into it. What does BKS stand for?
Oh, it's an abbreviation for Brookside.
Oh, okay.
Kansas City. So like if you visit Kansas City and you're in traffic and you see like one of those oval white bumper stickers that says BKS on it, it's probably not our brewery. It's actually just means you live in the Brookside neighborhood. I think the homeowners association around here gives those away or
passes
something.
them out.
Yeah. And so since every name's trademarked under the sun, when we were trying to open a brewery, I was like, oh shit, there it is. It's a neighborhood.
Yeah. How hard was that for you when you opened your brewery, Brian? Was it as hard as that where you're like, God, I'm really struggling. And then a lightning bolt out of the blue on back of someone's car hit you?
Yeah. We had my wife and I had talked about opening a brewery for quite a while and wanted it to be in this neighborhood, and went through a couple of different name schemes or ideas on it. A lot of them I've forgotten. But we would just get on the what's called the test system for the patent office for the United States. You can just type in any name and see if it's taken. It was just like, damn it, every single time the name we'd come up with, it's already taken. And fortunately, nobody had trademarked BKS, and we thought it fit with our neighborhood and what we were trying to do and being part of this neighborhood. Yeah. And so now we have the trademark for it.
Nice. How come that specific neighborhood? Was it just because that's where you were and it was close and accessible to you?
Yeah, we moved here. I've been living in Kansas City since 2004, and then we moved to this neighborhood like 2009, and so we've been here for quite a while.
Oh, okay, great.
And so I mean, we have a lot of friends from around here, a lot of great restaurants, bars. It's just a really cool older style of neighborhood, and it's got a lot of history here, and it's just the place we wanted to be, so we thought it's a perfect name for it.
Nice. Absolutely. And when did you open the brewery?
We tried to open in 2016.
Okay.
And with any brewery plan, you get into these things with contracting and build out and licensing. It's not as bad as in California, I promise that. But it took us a year longer than we thought. So we ended up opening in October of 2017, and we just came up on our 4-year anniversary in this past October.
Nice.
And heading into year 5 here.
Wow, what a scary time to head into year 5, man. But you're still plugging along.
Yeah, we're all right. We're doing good. We're kind of one of these breweries that's well equipped to get through some of this pandemic stuff, because we do everything on premise here. We sell all of our cans to go. We don't distribute anything like that. So we can pivot pretty quickly from having a tasting room to just doing cans to go. And that's really what we did. And we're well supported through it. So we were just kind of geared to adapt to that, whether we knew it or not. Was
that the plan going in to not distribute and just do everything in-house and kind of see what happens, and then pandemic hits and you're like, well, okay, we don't have to adjust it all, basically? Yeah. So the thought when we opened this, so we're a little bit bigger of a brewery than we were when we started. Mm-hmm. I started with a 3.5 barrel brew house and 3 fermenters and just me. Wow. And it was my man on a mission. Yeah. Man on the mission to overwork his ass. Yeah, I was just ignorant enough to not know that's not the way to do it. And, absolutely, brother. But it gave us an opportunity to grow it organically the way we wanted to do it. And fortunately, the building that we're in, we've been able to, every single year that we've been open, we've done a little bit of an expansion.
and taken on additional suite space in the building and grown it slowly and organically. But yeah, we started it in 2017 with a 3.5 barrel brew house, 3 fermenters. I think we have, when those 5 fermenters show up today, we'll have about, I think, 25 fermenters, 6.5 barrel fermenters to 3.5 barrel fermenters, just a mix of them. And then we have an oversized 5 barrel brew house that we can do up to 8 barrel batches on. And
wow.
Yeah, so we just kind of rolled with that out of the gates, and started slow, and have just kind of been churning along ever since.
Was that kind of growth expected, or are you exceeding what your business plan set up for? Does that make sense? Because like 3.5 barrels, it sort of sounds like, well, it's not 1 barrel, so we're I expect to sell beer, but I don't really know if I'm going to be selling a ton. So let's meet in the middle somewhere, start low, and then see. It sounds like that's what you would plan for. Yeah.
So when we started, we thought we would be open on a Saturday. Our tasting room would only be open on a Saturday, and we'd have some cans that we'd sell to go, and the cans started just selling out very quickly, and we started getting a bit of a following, and the place would just be jam packed, and we could not keep up with it at all because, of course, we're very small.
Yeah.
And it kind of got a little bit out of control because we weren't being able to supply anything to our neighborhood, and there wasn't really any room to sit when we first opened. And so we desperately needed to increase capacity and also expand hours. So we had some accessibility to the neighborhood to come in and drink some beers here every once in a while, rather than just being flooded all the time. So we had a suite we added in 2018, and then another suite that we added in later that year, and then another bigger space in 2019. And then we just did a very big expansion right at the start of pandemic. We were planning to do that either way, and that really doubled our capacity of where we were right at the start of pandemic. And we're just finishing that up today, actually. And so we went from a place of brewing about 250 barrels a year. That was the pace we were probably on when it was just me with a small brew house and a couple of fermenters, to today probably just shy of 1,000 barrels. And we've got Alex with us, and I have 2 other full-timers with us, and my wife, Mary. She handles all of the financial and licensing and
all the smart stuff. Absolutely.
All the stuff that keeps the glue together so we can just make beer. Yeah. And it's pretty much just a tight group. That's how we do everything here and how we've existed.
That's rad, man. To hear the community support where you were like, oh, we are way too big, or we need a bigger space is what I mean. And we're way too small, I guess, is the opposite of what I said.
Yeah, I think
that's cool.
In a way, it's kind of a fun thing to walk into a packed tasting room and see that kind of support, but also it's kind of a fun environment to interact with everybody. But I think it also can be somewhat off-putting to a lot of folks when they come in and they can't, it's just packed all the time. And, they're like, why is it only open one day? A lot of folks didn't understand what was going on. So
you were panicking.
Trying to make it more accessible these days.
For sure. Everybody. Were you homebrewing before you opened the brewery?
I was a home brewer for 10 years before opening, and listened to probably every single podcast on the session.
Oh no.
Down in my basement.
Don't do it. That's no good.
Yeah, so I did that for years, and started on a Mr. Beer kit, making some pretty god awful stuff.
Of course.
And like almost everybody, it sounds like. And then went on to doing the turkey fryer stuff in my backyard. And then in the early days of electric homebrew systems, you couldn't just buy one out of box. And so I started building my own one. Gosh, that was probably 2012, 2013.
Oh, okay. Electric system. Nice.
Oh, yeah. Electricbrewery.com. That was my Bible to read how to do that. And so
excellent.
I built one of those in my basement and really got into entering homebrew competitions, and slowly started to win quite a few medals and do really well. And the idea sort of formed in my head of maybe this is something I could take a little bit further. And, one thing leads to another, and then here I am today.
When you were researching your original brewery size, were you thinking like 3.5 barrels? We should go 5. Like, you know what I mean? What left you at 3.5?
Well, I was scared to death to do bigger than that because I was a home brewer and I had a 10 gallon system.
Okay.
And before we opened the brewery, I actually got a 1 barrel system in our basement, and it was like a replica of what the 3.5 barrel one was. So I could smooth some of the learning curves, working out some of the recipes there. But that was as comfortable as I felt starting. And I knew if we could figure it out and do well with it, I could grow into some larger equipment and kind of do it the right way. And
okay.
That's kind of my thought process around it.
Okay. So you knew you had some room to grow, and this was a learning curve to kind of iron out. Okay.
Yeah.
All
absolutely.
right. It wasn't like too much of a shock. We're like, oh my God, we have to get a bigger thing. You sort of knew it was going to happen. Maybe not that fast.
Yeah. We knew that about 3 months in when we were running out of beer.
Okay.
Because 3.5 is a hustle.
Yeah, bro.
Keep up with just a tasting room, much less even try to package anything. And we were trying to do both. And it was crazy. We learned a lot along the way. And I think what we were able to do on a smaller system, we had some failures and we had some really great successes on that system that it gave us a good base and platform to take it a step further when we really did start producing what we think is a lot of beer, which is, probably not very much still at 1,000 barrels.
Hey, man, if it feels like a lot, it's a lot.
Yeah,
that's all you got.
Like a lot.
Yeah,
we make it count.
There you go. Yeah, it's not how much you brew; it's how you distribute it. Mm-hmm. Sure, or not, I suppose. Yeah. So where does Alex come in? Alex, how did you get roped into this?
Yeah, so Brian and I had met just through seeing each other in bars and breweries. I brewed at Torn Label Brewing in Kansas City, down in the Crossroads area. So, we definitely had some beers together and shared our love for hoppy beverages specifically, and then right before Shutdown, they offered me a job and I took it right at Shutdown. So
nice.
It was a crazy time to switch gears, but I think it was the right choice for all parties. And so I'm helping carry the load, and
nice. That's cool, man. That's really cool. And how's it going there since? I mean, well, you don't know anything pre-lockdown, I suppose, but
right.
It was definitely building that back up from oh shit.
Yeah, it was definitely super weird to go from working on a 15 barrel brew house at a distro brewery to then it's all right, everything's shut down and I'm at this smaller brewery and we're just putting everything in cans and getting it out the door as fast as possible. It was definitely a shock for everybody, Obviously the whole last couple of years have been a whirlwind, but it's been great. And I feel like we're really hitting a stride, dialing a lot of details in, and we're in a good spot with this system, and super stoked.
That's cool, man. That's great. And it sounds like community support couldn't be better.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Sounds like everyone's loving it.
Yeah, it's huge. People have really shown their support to all the KC breweries. The whole KC beer community has, there's been all kinds of, creative stuff that's been done to really help everybody out. So that's been really cool to see. And, it's a small but mighty beer community here. So
that's great. That's cool, man. I like to hear that. Hi, Alice. Sorry, my kid decided to give me
hi, Alice.
some Legos. So this is really important stuff. Well, let's start with a beer.
Yeah,
crack
let's
a
have a
beer.
beer.
All right.
What are you going for?
I don't know. Let me open my cool bag.
Do we help you make a choice or?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I can start with the barley wine.
Oh, that's
That's smart and a
Yeah.
good representation of what your guys' beers are all about. Yeah, what do you recommend?
I would say go with the Kolsch out of
man.
the gates on that.
Of course.
That's a good starter, right?
The what is it, Meyer?
Yeah.
Yeah,
All right, let's do it.
I guess we should have one too.
You guys want to get
yeah,
one?
I think that's only appropriate.
Yeah, we'll follow your lead.
Okay. Yeah, grab a Kolsch.
The Kilsch.
Yeah, I always feel weird trying to say it like that, so I just, Americanize it.
Same.
Yeah, like I want to, I want to sound cool and go Kolsch. But at the same time, I just don't want to take the effort because it's just beer. It's not like it's someone's name
Right?
and they're going to be offended. Like, well, actually, my name is pronounced this way.
It's actually pronounced Todd.
Right. Of course, I just spilled it on my computer. I had too much shit going on, man. Like months and months of being in here. Like I haven't rearranged anything in my studio. So cords are literally everywhere. And anyway, whatever. All right. So tell me about Meyer, please. The Kolsch style ale.
Yes. So all of our classic or traditional styles of beer that we do are named after, I guess, streets or monuments around our neighborhood here. When it's more a modern take or something, we just come up with some crazy name for beers or whatever. But Meyer is a road right near where our brewery is at, and there's this huge roundabout on the road that goes around that gigantic fountain that's on the label. And so I don't know, Meyer sounded German to me, and we needed a name, and that fountain's really cool. So we have
else you want?
Yeah, we have a really
Man,
one of our friends is a really good artist and does the artwork for us. But yeah, so this is 100% German malt, Weirmann Pilsner malt, a blend of a couple of them, and then there is Hallertau Mittelfrüh hops in the kettle with that, and then a little bit of Saphir. Both Alex and I really like the Saphir hop. We're big fans of like Firestone's Pivo Pills, which features that. And so we try to find a way to insert it into, any place where it's proper. And so you get like a little bit of that lemony, grassy, floral sort of nose. It's in there. Nice crisp beer.
Yeah, I like new age. Sounds like it's made with crystals. I like the sort of new hop approach to these kinds of styles, Kolsch specifically. I don't know what it is, but that's a phenomenal beer. That malt structure is complex, and it's hard with a beer like this, because they're so simple and yet hard to do.
Yeah, Alex brewed this one, and as my job tends to be a little bit more now, I handle a lot of the cellaring tasks, so he sets up a good base for sure.
Oh, thanks, Brian.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Alex, how long have you been making Kolsch? Is it something that you're familiar with?
We've kind of just been dipping our toes in it. Is this like the third or fourth batch we've done here?
This would be the third.
So yeah, we're just like tweaking it,
checking it out
different every time. And, we've got, a nice thing going, I think. And I like the Saphir in it. It tastes a little more like a Pilsner with that in there, but
it does. And it has
I'm
like
not
a little,
complaining.
No, but it's good, in a good way, right? It's like, it does sort of ride that line. I guess if you handed this to me and said like, oh, this is a German Pils, you'd be like, well, maybe it's not as bitter as a German Pils and it's a little, I don't know, more malty, but yeah, okay, sure. I would, it could pass like that, but telling me it's a Kolsch, it has clear Kolsch, characters to it, but it does have like a little, I say but, as in like here's the negative, right? That's not what I mean. It does have like a lemony, and maybe I'm like keying in on this because this is not the first time I've said this in the last like month, but there is like a lemony character to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It sort of elevates it.
I think that's the Saphir hops in it for sure.
Yeah.
But I think that's kind of where for us, when we talk about Kolsch and trying to understand where we want to take it and looking at what is a traditional Kolsch and how is it made, and trying to follow some of those things and do it right, do it, in a respectable way. It's a fine line between, am I drinking a Pilsner, or is this an ale? Is there a fruity ester? Can I detect it?
Mm-hmm.
It shouldn't be apple. It shouldn't be pear. But then if you think really hard about it, is it there or is it not there?
Dude,
and that's kind of like, that's the beautiful line of what a Kolsch is, because it is an ale. And it fits really good with our brand because we are BKS Artisan Ales. So it's kind of funny when we make lagers. Your name says ales, but that's why we're really into the Kolsch thing. There's just a lot to unpack there and a lot to keep tweaking and working on it. We love it. We love making it.
Yeah, it's funny you say pear because I didn't get it, but I was tasting a sweetness, and you said, is this or is it pear? And I'm like, I get. There's a little tiny hint of like a, maybe not even a candied pear, but like a
fruity ester.
Yes, yeah,
just the slightest, like
almost kiss of fruit.
Like, is it there or is it not there?
A breath of pear.
It should be mostly not there.
Yes, it's mostly not there. But if you didn't say it, I wouldn't have said pear.
Sure, it's suggestive.
Yeah, and that's sometimes when we drink beer, we don't know what we're doing, right? It's like, what is the power of suggestion? Is it just teaching me what I'm already tasting, or is it fooling me to think that I'm actually doing this thing when it's not really there at all? And I do sort of like beer sometimes that you could do that with, because it makes it a little bit more fun, because then you can really go around the room and go, well, what are you getting? Oh, and then I look at it as working on my vocabulary, working on my palate, but I also don't want to, interfere with someone else's brain. I like it. What yeast are you using on this?
We use there's a couple Kolsch strains that are out there, and I think we use what is referred to as like the Kolsch 2 strain from White Labs.
Okay.
The instructions on that, if you look at it, I go back to like my old homebrew days when you read like the White Labs.
Let me get my notes out here.
and I'm not saying they're wrong, but I'm saying they're wrong on how you ferment it. So it says this one can be fermented a little bit warmer than some of the other ones, and that couldn't be further from the truth. We actually take this pretty cool. We're not elevating the temp on this, and we just go low and we go slow. And we treat this a lot like lager. This is a 6-week beer for us to make. We naturally carbonate it. We spooned it. And it's actually really cool. I'm sitting right next to the tank that we fermented, and it's actually a 6.5 barrel bright tank that has a removable false bottom on it. We actually use that to infuse stouts with coconut or cacao nib. So it's actually used in cold brew settings. But it's a flat bottom vessel, and so we like that because it reduces the osmotic stress on the beer, but it's a fat tank. So the yeast can really drop out of there and get crystal clear in the tank.
Yeah.
It's just a great aging vessel. And so we dual purpose it that way. We use it to do some cool stuff with stouts, but we also will throw some lager or Kolsch into there and let it do its thing when we're not using it for stout.
A removable false bottom in a bright. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool, man.
We were up at the manufacturer's facility, and they were showing us where they make equipment for cold brewing coffee. And they showed me what was basically a bright tank.
Yeah.
Like you carbonate beer in, jacketed bright tank. And it had this false bottom in it that's like very, very low micron, so that you could actually just put ground coffee in it, just throw it in and bring water into it, and it pulls it right off of it. And I said,
"Oh man,
hang on, man, could I put coconut in that?" they said yes, because they want to sell the tank.
Of course, yeah. I mean,
sure,
yeah. It sounds like you can. I mean,
you could put anything in it.
Yeah.
So
hang on, man.
and it's removable, so we pull the false
That's
bottom
rad.
out of there, and then we just use it as a really cool sort of like vertical lagering tank in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And how are you finding the flavors on those? Do you have to, I didn't read somewhere one time, way back when I was, used to not know anything. I was talking to Vinny Chillerza, of course. He's like, Cher. You don't need to say his last name because sometimes it's hard. But he was talking about like a 1-to-1 ratio tank he was using for all his Belgian beers. And he goes, it's the only one we have. And then, but we're moving away from it because I figured out how to manipulate the yeast in a normal size fermenter to get those same esters. So do you have to, work with your yeast in that regard with when it comes to like tank shape like that?
Totally. I think Alex and I have talked about this a lot, about the geometry of tanks, and you can probably talk about it, Alex.
Yeah, it's something that people don't talk about much, but it's such a huge impact on whatever you're trying to do.
Yeah.
I think for us, like we favor, at least for like a lot of the beers we do, we like the squattier, wider types of tanks. And a couple things that does is, even if we're brewing like a hazy IPA or a West Coast IPA or lager or whatever, it helps the yeast drop out quicker. We think that it's just a wider tank.
Yeah.
And I think also anytime you're reducing a lot of the stress on the yeast in the cone of the tank, that's going to lead to like a more elegant expression. Like a lot of the taller tanks that are out there, I think might disrupt that, but I think that's where some of the ingenuity of brewing and knowing your tanks and knowing how to work with them and what yeasts work for you and your setup comes into play. But like for us, we like the wider, squattier tanks. Like every time we order them, they give me a quote for these taller or thin ones, and I'm like, no. I was like, do you guys have those ones that nobody wants, like the wide ones?
Yeah, the cutting room floor shit. Like
and they do.
We also don't have the ceiling space for it. That's the other thing. It's like it's all part of the deal. We
are vertically challenged in our space. We have 11 feet vertical.
11 feet. Wow, you're cramming all these tanks in. Okay, I gotcha. Yeah,
we're close.
Well, it sounds like you can sprawl out too. Just like your tanks, you can go wider in your space, but not taller.
Right?
All right. I love it, man. That's cool. Yeah, that's a really good take on a Kolsch, man. It's a little bit new school, but I think it's great. It came out really well.
Thanks, man.
How are people loving Kolsch out there? Because Kansas City is like that area is sort of lager heavy, right?
Oh yeah, people love their lagers.
Oh yeah, I mean it's AB and Bev country. But I think that in Kansas City, we're fortunate that people here who are into craft beer understand what a Kolsch is, because we have Boulevard, introduced a Kolsch to the market, and then Casey Beer Co., who's up the street from us, who's won tons of World Beer Cup medals and GABF medals for their lagers. They make a wonderful Kolsch, and they have a pretty big distribution footprint in Kansas City. And so fortunately, the path is already blazed for us to come in and have it in our tasting room. People get it. They know what it is.
All right, good. Yeah, because I was having we had the guys on from Kansas Territory Brewing Company in Kansas.
Oh, yeah.
And they were like, bro, like, well, I mean, they didn't say bro, first of all, but that's me. That's me being from the Bay Area. It was hella sick, bro. That it was like 97% of the beer sold in the state is like Busch Light or some crap like that.
Oh, in Kansas?
Yeah. So I just figured that whole area might be a little bit macro lager heavy.
Yeah, I think Southern Missouri.
Yeah, that's Kansas territory.
You mean Colorado territory? All right, what should I have next?
Let's see. We put an English mild in there.
Oh,
I think that's a next stair step.
That's a fun guy.
Yeah.
That's my favorite. Let me find it. English mild, Rock Hill and Locust.
Yeah.
Sounds like
more streets.
Sounds like a rap group from the 80s, but tell me.
We joke that it sounds like a gastropub.
It really does, dude. That you're like almost close to get a Michelin star at.
Yeah. It's actually the street corner of where my home is at.
Okay, wow, you're just close to giving your address out on these things.
I know. Our next English style beer is going to be like the code to my garage.
The digits. Yeah.
I shouldn't put it now. In 5 years, it'll be like your Wi-Fi password, and then
sure.
Yeah. Home Invasion Ale.
No big deal.
Well, your Home Alone series could be after that. Rock Hill and Locust English Mild Ale, 4.0%. the best. Oh, wow, my light is too bright to show the whatever. It's a street sign, guys. It's a cool label. Tell me about this, please.
It's fun.
Yeah, so Rock Hill and Locust is probably the beer I've been brewing the longest, from homebrew to commercial brewing. And the way that I stumbled into it, it was a long time ago. And I had a St. Pat's party I hosted at my house. And of course, I was expected to have homebrew that I produced for everybody to come drink.
Of course.
And I procrastinated, and I was realizing I wasn't going to be able to produce the beer that I wanted to have for the event. And so I did a quick search on the internet. I said, what beer can I make the fastest?
Yep.
And it said everybody was like English mild, And so I think I found, I don't know, some recipe on the internet and whipped it together, and it was a big hit. But I was struck by, I used Maris Otter malt in that from Thomas Fawcett, really nice, nutty, biscuity character, traditional English malt. And I just fell in love with the flavor of that malt, and I wanted to expand upon it. And so through the years, I changed a lot of things on it. And that was actually the first beer that we made when we opened our brewery. And it has quite a cult following around our neighborhood and in Kansas City here. There's not a lot of people were doing it at the time when we opened in 2017. What I am excited about is I see a lot of breweries making English mild more often than not now. And I think there's like a resurgence of like these traditional and classic styles that are out there. And there's just a lot of great layers of malt character in there. It's sessionable. You have a few of them, and you can dig into it or you can forget about it.
See, and I think you're right. There is a resurgence of that, and it's the second mild I've had in a week, which I feel blessed already because it's one of my favorite styles. I had one at Heretic at Jamil's place last week, and it's like just so welcoming. It's such a welcoming, warm, inviting style. Because, like you said, there is so many layers you could have, and this one is it's a very good example. It's got a light chocolatey thing going on, but it has that really light toffee note as well for the malt.
Yeah.
I think that chocolatey note, and I want to get into it a little bit, is a little different take on it, which I appreciate as well, because you can take these styles and definitely manipulate them one way or the other. Those dark malts can go a little bit, and you can take it, you can push some of these mid palate notes on them. What's your malt bill for this? You don't have to get it percentages if you don't want to, but
no,
you can.
There's a couple specialty malts in there that I'm very fond of with it. I personally think biscuit malt is one of them that really rounds us out, but I also blend it with some victory malt. And the thing is there's too much that you can do on either side of those things. You still got to let the Maris Otter come out, but we actually do put a little bit of crystal malt in there, a couple of different varieties of crystal malt. And then there is a very specific chocolate malt from a maltster. I won't divulge the name.
I knew it. I could tell right when you were talking. I was like, this is it's going to be secretive.
Their chocolate malt is
walk up to the edge.
It's awesome. And I started drinking through any English mild I could get my hands on, and fortunately was able to find some really great award-winning examples of it. And one of the things that I found about those is there's like this seam of like chocolate character that's in there. And I thought one of the cool things we might be able to do here is carry that out just a little bit more while still being true to the style. And I think that's kind of why ours might be a little bit different than anybody else's. Like we showcase like the nutty chocolatey character of what a dark English mild can be. We also use a very atypical English strain for this. And I ran some trials back in the day on using some ESB yeast or the Fuller's strain. And then I found an English strain that works beautifully in this, and it produces a fuller body, which you need for this kind of a low ABV beer while still keeping it sessionable. And so I think those things all coming together give it like a really unique profile. And it's just like a nice drinking experience when you're just want to have a few and hang out with friends. And
it is because it's not,
appreciate it.
It's complex. for an English mild to be complex like this. You don't really get that. And I feel like this is gonna sound romantic but you know what? We're in the beer industry. Who gives a shit,
Let's
right?
get romantic.
Yeah, let's all just take our shirts off and hug for a bit.
It's okay.
No, but it's like it's you care enough about the style to put these other extra elements in it where you don't have to. You could strip this down, sell it as an English mild, then people will be like, okay, that's an English mild, whatever. But like Americanized versions of English milds, again, caveat, I haven't had one direct from the source from like England, but I've had some really, really good ones. And it's like I said, it's a very deep, it's a very robust. I would have thought it was like pale chocolate because that chocolate flavor is very light. Yeah. It's almost like cacao nib, where it's like it's a higher chocolate. It's like a brighter chocolate.
Yeah, a little bit of Tootsie Roll, like
yeah,
it's kind of a baby barley wine, barley wine for the babies.
A little bit of fig in there hiding out.
Yeah.
Oh, have you imperialized this? Imperialized?
No.
Oh,
this would be a good like, winter
warmer.
Yeah, winter something.
Imperial English mild.
That wouldn't be the first style to be bastardized. You know what I mean?
No,
right.
It could be good.
Triple mild.
Barrel age. I mean, now that might actually be pretty.
Yeah.
That might actually be pretty.
Okay. Okay, I actually want that.
We've been talking about doing a cask or something like that with this, which would be beautiful.
Yeah, well, the one I had at Heretic was on a hand pump, and it was just awesome.
Nice.
But I will say it wasn't as flavorful, and it's not a knock because again, this style you can actually push. You can go in different directions and stretch it out, but on the hand pump, it was just a couple flavors coming through. It was nice and easy drinking. But this sort of like the Kolsch, you can sit down and really examine it. And at a 4%, you can have a lot of fun doing it. And I think in the beer world, we tend to sometimes go, whoa, well, if it's not 8% and over or in a bottle with a wax seal, I'm just smelling, it's just a beer. It just is what it is.
Yeah. That gives me some hope, though, that I think these types of beers have so much to be appreciated in them. And like you just said, like unless it's barrel aged and it's 14% ABV, there's a lot of dismissal that can occur. And I think there's just a lot of like technical attention and a lot of toiling and tweaking that goes on with these lower ABV beers. There's not a lot of places to hide when you're making them.
Right.
And and I just love them. I love drinking this style of beer, especially the older I get, the more I need these types of things.
Bro, yes. Absolutely. Dude, I'm jumping head first into the world of non-alcoholic beer already. Like at 44. I'm just Heineken 00 at 44.
Yeah, I'm.
What are you liking? You liking the Heine 00?
I like Heineken 00, dude. I like Athletic.
Okay.
We had the Athletic guys on. It's some of the best non-alcoholic craft beer that I've had. I've had some that aren't. I haven't had a much, but the few that I've had are like, oh, this kind of tastes like wort. But Athletic sort of knows they've clearly put the time in to figure it out.
Yeah,
so
I've had
some
good
those
ones from them also. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been impressed.
Are you guys going to do a non-alcoholic beer, or is that
definitely never?
Yeah.
No seltzers. No non-alcoholic.
Non-alcoholic that wave hasn't made it. That's fine. Yeah. The non-alcoholic wave, I think, is definitely regional.
Mm-hmm. I do think. I'm hopeful that there's going to be a resurgence of like some lower ABV beers.
Man.
And I would love to see craft light lager take off, and like I'm very hopeful for that. I think there's a huge area there to explore.
Yeah, agreed. And I think you're right where it's sort of coming. Lagers was the first step to come back.
You feel the rumble.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm ready for it. I'm ready for it. Until someone decides to spin up the Belgian quad again, or whatever. Then it's like, okay, here we go. We're back on the
on the other side of it now.
Yeah, I know.
All right.
We need breaks in between, and I feel like you guys are really handling those low ABV beers, very, very well. Like I said, they're very flavorful.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you.
so don't let those numbers fool you guys if you're out there listening. Okay, we need to take a quick break, everybody. We're going to come back.
Sounds good.
We're going to be speaking with Brian and Alex here from BKS Artisan Ales. So hang on a sec, everyone. It's a session. We'll be right back.
Beer.
It's time to talk beer and chew bubble gum.
And we're all out of gum.
The session.
All right, thanks for hanging on, everybody. We're back with BKS Artisan Ales, and we're here with Brian and Alex, and we're going to try some more beer. What's
More
next?
beer.
Morebeer.com, baby. All right, what's next? We should have it open.
Sure thing. Maybe
Yeah,
that's
maybe something hoppy.
Yeah, sure thing.
You got a hop in that bag?
I got a sure thing.
Yes.
You want to do that? Let's do it.
Yeah, that's a good way to go.
All right, tell me about sure thing.
I will start off telling you about what Sure Thing is, and then Alex can tell you how we make it. But Sure Thing is a New Zealand style IPA, and when we were trying to figure out what do we call a New Zealand style IPA, Sure is like the Kiwi slang for like cool or awesome or something like that, and so it sounded like Sure Thing. And Alex and I are always trying to like just joke on word naming schemes and stuff like that. And our artist who does our label artwork, she's also a small portion owner with her husband in our brewery, and her husband actually works in our brewery also. Aaron is his name.
Oh, nice.
He's not here. He left about 2 hours ago. And she's an architect, but she is a fantastic graphic designer also. And so I was just saying, I just think of like the Pacific Ocean and everything. So she did the label with that design on there, like hand sketched it. And anyways, so that gives us the backdrop to feature New Zealand hops. We work exclusively with Freestyle Hop Farm on the South Island of New Zealand to get all of our New Zealand hops. And we were fortunate enough to get their Nelson Sauvin and their Motueka, which we prominently feature in this one. And it is kind of like a unfiltered West Coast style IPA. And the reason we leave it unfiltered is Alex and I were talking about making this beer, and we were big fans of like the old school Alpine Nelson back in the day. And we thought, if we could do some sort of tribute to like how that tasted or whatever, because we can't get that stuff in Kansas City, maybe we could make some type of beer that's a little bit like it. So this is kind of like it's just like a unfiltered West Coast with those two hops in it, and you get like lime, passion fruit, and the traditional like white wine gooseberry thing, whatever gooseberry is.
It's made up shit.
Super crisp beer. But Alex can tell you about how we brew it.
Yeah, Alex, do it.
Yeah. So we just keep it nice and simple. This beer really reminds me of beers that I got to have on the West Coast, like just through travel, years ago, where it was like just paled, like they were so different than the West Coast IPAs that you could get around here, like, like 10 years ago. The ones that you would get here were just like crystal malt bombs, and it's like, I don't know. I've had some other stuff that's not like this at all. So we keep it really simple. Mostly Pilsner, like no crystal, like just a little bit of fluffy stuff in there, give it some body. And just let the hops go to town. I really like the Nelson character in this. It reminds me, it's a really weird tasting note, but there's like just this really nice like mixed berry kind of like mixed berry energy drink thing about it, which is like, I'm my palate is that's in my palate, so
that's where you're going
with it. Yeah.
All right. I got it.
It's cool to see. We've this is our second year working with Freestyle, and we have hop contracts with them, which is great for a small brewery like us to be able to source some reliably quality hops from a place like that.
Yeah, I bet.
And just getting to see how the hop expression from the Nelson changes every single year, which is so cool. Like last year's was a little bit different. This year we have this passion fruit note that's in the Nelson Sauvin, and then the Motueka from them is just solid. It's just pure lemon lime soda vibes that are
wow.
that are in the beer, and so it's just fun to pair those two things together, and just doing whatever we can to get the malt kind of out of the way so that you can really appreciate what those hops are, and do not filter it, so that everything is there with all the hop oils saturated in, and
okay,
just like dig in with your nose and smell it and appreciate what those are.
That's an interesting way to describe, kind of a few things, honestly, Brian, but like one is, when you said you're really excited to see how the crops change. And I feel like most people wouldn't say that. Most people are like, I want it to taste the same from year to year. But, and maybe that's true for like some other beers, or maybe, is this a showcase for how the hops can change? Like, it sounds like you're not trying to make the same beer all the time with this particular style.
I feel like, that like plays to our strengths, like we were talking about earlier. It's like, we have a lot of variety and we turn it pretty quick, but, we want variety. That plays to our strengths. So like mixing it up, like finding a new way to use a hop, obviously you want some consistency, obviously. But I don't know. These freestyle hops have been great.
Yeah, the thing about tasting through all these things, it's an agricultural product, and we're such a small brewery. We're 1,000 barrels, so we're not like in a position to command whatever hops we want from a certain lot.
But
they're
like, who are you?
but we are in a position to be savvy about where we get them and how we think about them and how we use them, and being smart about, which ones work for what we're trying to do. And and so we're just always trying to think through, if we have a really good lot and we're getting thin on it and we get another one, which is great, but we don't want to deviate too far from what the flavor profile of Nelson Sauvin has been from the previous year in our beers. We'll start blending to bring our customers along with us. And so we kind of are like a pub brewery in that way, that packages most of our beer. Like 80% of our beer that we make goes into package format.
Wow.
And sold on premise. But we like to take our customers along for the journey with us on hops. And I think they trust us to a degree to deliver on that experience. Like, I think there's an understanding that year over year, our beers might drift or change a little bit based on what that crop of hop like Citra or Mosaic is changing every single year that we can get. But they trust us to deliver it in a unique way that is, pleasant. And so that's kind of how we think about it. And so we kind of wean everybody off of last year's and then bring it into the next one. And then we get to learn along the way too. Like, how do we work with this one? Like, what is different about this year's Mosaic? What is different about this year's Citra or Nelson or Motueka or whatever? And so it's kind of like making hoppy beer, being a good IPA brewer is a lot like thinking about like sour beer blending and finding those seams of like your barrels or whatever you're working with and blending together to get a flavor profile. We think the same way about hops when we use them. Like, we might use a couple of lots of Citra or a couple of lots of Mosaic to derive, an outcome we're looking for in a beer, So that's kind of where we're doing it.
Do you have a go-to recipe to brew with new hops that come in?
We have a few.
Okay. All right. Yeah. And I don't know where that comes from. I think it came from like you describing, we're excited for these hops to come in and we'll see how to work with them and whatever. But I'm imagining the first lot comes in of Motueka or anything. What do you do with it? How do you figure out how to use it?
We cut the bag open and we smell it from the hops for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely that.
And then, Alex and I start having a discussion about, obviously if it's not good, we're like, shit.
Sure.
Because it's not one of those things where you hear like people say, well, you take your shitty hops and you just throw them in the boil kettle. Well, we don't do that. Like, we're not going to put any shitty hops in anything.
Yeah.
And so it's like, damn it, we're going to throw this away.
You throw away hops. You throw them away.
Yeah.
Or don't donate them usually.
Okay.
Or yeah.
Home brewers.
Yeah.
Okay.
If we're trying to get something.
They're still better than anything you could usually get at home brew stores.
Yeah.
That we're getting. It's just like, it might not be something we're looking for. But then, sometimes we're long on contracts. I've let some good stuff out the door. Some people that are home brewers too. They've gotten some nice stuff from us.
Oh boy.
But
you got to pay it back.
Yeah, for sure.
That too.
But I think that, when we're smelling those hops, we're rubbing them, and then we're smelling and we're talking about what the expression is going to be. But then both Alex and I are pretty studious on what is in the hops. Like, we keep a pretty sharp eye on oil compositions and what the makeup of the hops are. And like, that's one of the things that like I push on a lot of our vendors that we utilize for.
Mm-hmm.
If I want the breakdown of what's in there, because we have a very specific idea of certain oils, and most of the hop vendors we work with can provide them to you.
Yeah.
And if they can't, that's a question for sure. But
okay.
What's going on?
I want to see what the breakdown is in there, because there are certain components that we look for.
Mm-hmm.
That we know will drive what we're trying to express in these beers. And so, that's kind of where we start with it.
Okay.
And just taking some general assumptions about like, what's the alpha acid, the total oil content, and assuming is it early picked or mid picked or late picked, and how can you use those those hops in beer, like if it's later picked, it's going to be higher alpha acid and higher total oil, but it might be oniony or garlicky, which is not terrible.
Right, that'll work. Sure.
There's a place for that.
Yeah.
And,
it's in the home brewer kit. And I guess I just asked that because, like, for me in my mind, which is unpractical because I've never owned a brewery or worked in one really, but I sit in them. And, it'd be like, well, okay, I don't know anything about this hop. I smell it. Yeah, it smells good. Let's put it in our IPA recipe. Just see how it works. See how it acts. Or let's put it in our, I don't know, depending on the hop, fucking stout. I don't know, whatever. That kind of thing. But I guess it's not like that. It's a little more, you guys know what you're doing, basically. I like this beer, man. It's interesting. It's IPA, which I don't drink normally. It's unfiltered, which I don't drink normally. But that aroma's there, and it's that diesel. There's a diesel quality to it.
Yeah.
But it's
hose.
It's diesel and it's strong, but it's not a negative. And usually we say that about hops where it's like, oh man, it's like diesel-y, and it's like it was considered like an off flavor. But it's not it's not diesel-y in an off flavor. It's like
it's a descriptor.
Yeah, sometimes like a I don't know, like a burlap bag or like a rope can kind of have like a diesel thing.
Yeah.
It's more organic of a diesel note. And I think it works really well with the other flavors that are coming up, the other aromatics, like from the yeast and from the malt. And it cuts through all that. I kind of like it. I kind of like that. It's almost like sandpaper. It gets your attention.
Yeah.
But you have the fruity stuff coming underneath it too. As it's warming up, I get some of that mixed berry kind of thing. And it's just a very different. Yeah, there's that diesel. I don't know, man. I like it. I think it smells really good.
Yeah, I will say that's a word that on most people who don't understand what that means, like if you're saying it, would be like, how could that be good? And
I drink gasoline. I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, those words are used to describe like cannabis and things like that. That there are pleasant aromas that come from that. It's the same thing with hops, and I think that there is appreciable aromatic compounds from all these types of things. And like if if you're drinking with an open mind and you're looking at those of like, what is it that I'm drinking and what am I smelling, and do I like this? Do I not like this? And I think that's the right way to think about it.
Yeah, it's good. Mouth feels there. It's round, but it's not round like a hazy beer, like a hazy IPA.
Which we will do that to you here soon, I'm sure.
And I knew it. Well, I was reading through the notes, and I'm like, oh, they want a thing for a haze. Shit, I'm gonna have to drink that.
We know you don't. You're not into the hazies that much.
It's fine though, man. I don't mind drinking them. I don't mind tasting them, because especially in conversations like this where I can sit and like learn about it with you guys, that's fine.
Yeah.
Now at this point, like my Sisyphean, feat of trying to get rid of hazy IPAs is never going to happen. So I'm gonna let that boulder roll over my face.
It's here to stay, right?
It's here to stay. Yeah. So, actually, someone in the chat was like,
some stable haze.
Someone saying that, like, you guys saying that you're never going to make a seltzer is like breweries saying I'm never going to make a hazy IPA 5 years ago.
Sure.
Eventually it'll happen. I'm like, I don't know, maybe.
I think if we start having to make seltzers, I'll probably hang it up.
Yeah.
I've had a couple seltzers that are like, I don't know, man. With seltzers, I get the appeal. I get it.
Yeah.
It's like I had to come to terms with hazy. I get it. I get the appeal of the beer. I don't know. Maybe I guess I just get I get it. I don't know.
We're big soda water folks over here,
Same, dude.
LaCroix and
fake beer.
What's the Aldi one? Belvier.
Oh shit. Look at you guys. I'm just like straight like Safeway brand, seltzer water.
Same thing, I'm sure.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
But
Best
you throw
choice,
a little bit of, when you want to get dangerous, you throw a couple shakes of Angostura bitters in there.
Ooh.
There you go.
I learned something today.
Yeah, what not to do. All right, I'm going to open Counterculture.
Counterculture, you're opening it? All right.
Yeah. Should I? That's because everything else is like double or then the milk chocolate. Not milk chocolate.
Yeah. No, it's Counterculture. And then we do, so Counterculture is one of our beers we have brewed the most. Again, like the English Mild was the first beer we brewed. That was the second beer we brewed, and we've been making it quite a bit. It's comprised of Citra Mosaic, Simcoe, and an elusive, unknown last hop that may or may not change year over year depending on what hops we're getting and how we like the way that it smells or tastes.
First of all, it's hazy.
Yeah, it's a hazy.
It doesn't say that on the can, Brian.
Oh, yeah, I know. I'm sorry.
Fucker.
Yeah, we
surprise.
I don't know. I don't know what to call it sometimes. Like we called it Northeast, then New England. Now it's hazy, so it is what it is.
I think hazy is just the term now. Yeah.
Yeah, hazy IPA. But so we do variants on this that are the components, like a deconstructed version of it. And so this is DDH Citra, like a double dry hopped Citra version. So we bring the Citra character of this beer more to the forefront than you might have if we just made the base version of it. And that's kind of what we riff on with this one.
I'm thinking about it. You got me thinking about it. Because I my first taste, it was like a little bit of citrus, maybe like orange pith, that of course that soft round mouthfeel, and then it was like this green flavor that literally made me go, huh. So I had to like sit and digest it, and it's vegetal, but not in like the off flavor. This is my problem, is I often say things and I have to caveat them with, that's not an insult, but I should probably learn how to like speak better. But it's like when you're like smelling a hop bine, it's like that kind of green smell. That's the flavor that I get.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where the New England style thing is at with everybody who's drinking it, is like what we're trying to find in that. And one of the reasons I really love this style, I mean, it was for me, I was a big West Coast IPA fan for years and years and years, and still am. I absolutely adore and love those styles. But what kind of like blew my mind is the hop character that's in this. It is one of the only ones where when we make this beer, it has some of the same aromatic compounds of when we open up a bag of hops. when we cut the top off of it, and that first smell that's in there. And so for me, I really love that. I love finding that same sort of like hop aromatic compound comes off of that glass that I find when I open up the bag or I rub the hops.
Yeah.
And and the other thing with it is the yeast component that's in there brings a little bit of like a stone fruit character. We use Conan yeast in this, and there's a couple different derivatives of Conan yeast that we've tried out and used, and we have a really good one with Bootleg Biology, who is the yeast provider that we use, and I think they have one of the most elegant expressions of Conan yeast that we've tried out. We've stuck with them for a really long time, but it brings this big peachy stone fruit character into the beer, and it's surprisingly, I mean, you might drink it and you might think there's some sweetness to it, but it might also at the same time, you might be like, is it not that sweet? It might be also like, is it dry? Is it just a lot of hop character going on in there? And so it's actually not a high attenuator. It's like it goes pretty close to where some of our West Coast stuff goes.
Really? Yeah, because it does not taste like that. It is pretty, and it's round. It's funny because you say like peachy stone fruit, because it is almost like a juice. And it's one of, and again, I don't know why I keep repeating this over and over again, but I don't drink these. But I was talking to the guys on Dr. Homebrew, and I was like, I've probably had more hazy IPAs than you guys have. The people who actually go out and drink them, just because of the show. So now I'm an expert on them. But it's like, this is one of the few beers that does have a juice component to it, and I think it is maybe the yeast esters. Yeah. If you're saying those are throwing some peachy stone fruit things, that does help combined with the soft water and that mouthfeel to sort of give it more of a juicier fruit flavor than just like, malt and, some stuff in suspension.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I think there's a very soft component, like the way we brew it.
Yeah, there shouldn't be too much harshness, like some of these beers can get all churned up and real raw, and it's like the nose smells awesome, and then you drink it and you're like, I mean,
that's, to be honest, that's most of them that I've had. I've had a couple, on the show where like, oh, that's pretty good. It helped me understand the style, drinking them more and more, and it's like I'm forced to drink them, so I'm going to drink them. And I understand, I get why people like it, but there are those that most of them smell great, but the flavor doesn't really back it up. And this one for me, I think it's more about the flavor. Not that it doesn't smell great; it smells good, but it's not as expressive as the flavor. And I wonder if I would bet that's that yeast that you're talking about, Brian. Mm-hmm. That's why you guys are using it. That would be such an important part of this beer. If you made this beer with any other yeast, it wouldn't be as put together, I think.
Yeah, we actually, we've gone through quite a few trials. Like I think I said earlier, one of the things we had failures and successes along the way.
Yeah.
And when we came to market and we were making this beer, actually, we used a yeast blend. We used Sac Trois, London Ale 3 and Conan together in a blend, and
fight to the death.
It was a battle royale.
Right.
Yeah. And so sometimes you'd see like one yeast would want to be more dominant than the other, sometimes for unknown reasons. And we started tasting through it and finding that the Conan strain, it's the one that I liked. It doesn't mean that like London Ale 3 or Sac Trois is not good. There are appreciable characteristics of that. In fact, some of the hazy beers that I adore and love are brewed with those yeasts for sure. But for us, like we just decided to go with Conan, and we've been working with it for 3 years, this particular one, and know it pretty well.
I don't know, man. If I had this beer in front of me, I wouldn't mind drinking it. It had that mid palate, fruit representation is very enjoyable.
Awesome.
I like it.
Yeah, that's the beer when people come into the tasting room, they're like, I don't like IPAs. which I hate hearing because that's mostly what we hear.
I got news for you, dude.
And I said, and like most everybody here is like, oh yeah, just let me pour you a little bit of this. And they're like, oh, but I like this.
Whatever this is.
Yeah. I hate IPAs. Period. Full stop. All right, last one before the last break here is the Double Double, which now I'm hungry and want a burger.
Yeah, we're taking you to dank territory here.
Double dry hopped, double India Pale Ale, 8.5%. Mm-hmm. Tell me about this one.
Yeah, so this is kind of our double version of counterculture, really.
It's hazy too.
Oh yeah, surprise!
It's your last one.
You guys are messing me up.
You got this. You got this.
Thanks, man. I love the confidence. Thank you.
But yeah, big soft malt base. And then this one, yeah, obviously with the Double Double series, we do a whole array of colors and kind of pair certain hop expressions with the colors of the double label. So this one, really evokes a lot of different stuff, but there's definitely an underlying like background of dankness and which we love the West Coast beers and stuff, so we love the dank stuff. So this is kind of our fun dank riff on the hazy double.
It's dank. Mm-hmm. That is a dank. That is a dank beer. And I heard somewhere, read somewhere that people want to try to like remove the expression dank because this was probably, I don't know, man, 8 years ago or whatever. Before pot was just whatever it is now, legal most places, at least in California. Mm-hmm. Because it's like, oh, it's too drug reference or whatever. But like you couldn't describe this beer any other way,
right?
You couldn't.
Give me another word. Herbaceous.
Yeah, herbaceous.
Sure.
Yeah. If I'm Wolfgang fucking Puck and like I want to order pasta with extra, come on.
Basil, more basil.
Yeah, or I'll throw it at your head. Yeah, that is. I mean, it is what it is. It's dank.
Yeah, Galaxy hops are the lead in this, and then there's a blend of some other ones behind there that we really find that prop up the Galaxy the right way. We don't go too far with Galaxy these days. Galaxy has been kind of a strange changing hop over the last 3 years that we've got it. And
oh wow!
It's gone from like these like awesome dank pineapple expressions to like totally woody if you're not getting the right ones.
Okay.
And so like we have had to be very careful about the Galaxy that we source and what we're looking for in it. And we were very, very, very lucky to get like 500 pounds of or 550 pounds of Galaxy last year that we really loved. And we've been like kind of using that and fusing it in to this beer. And I'm very worried about if can we find the next lot of Galaxy that we need to keep doing this. Yeah,
sure.
As you know, that's one of those hops where it's like you're kind of jumping off into the darkness with what you're going to get when you get Galaxy. It's like, is it going to be awesome? Is it going to be just weird?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you guys pulling enough hops where you go to like a hop selection at certain places?
No.
Not yet.
No.
Absolutely not. I wish.
Absolutely not. But it sounds like at the rate you're growing, you might be soon. I mean,
I don't know. Yeah, we'll see.
You're doing well.
Yeah, it'd be nice to be able to go out there and hand pick it and all that stuff. Definitely don't have time to fly to Australia.
Well, okay, yeah. I mean, I guess I meant more Oregon, but yeah, Washington, but yeah, for sure. Yeah. Imagine expensing a trip to New Zealand to just go to hop selection.
We have a really good relationship with like Hollingberry Hops, and our hop rep who lives up in Omaha, Nebraska, has been really great to us and helped us out a lot. And then we use we buy some stuff from like some other places, and
Okay.
there's some really cool stuff that's out there, and just trying to keep an open mind and good relationships with those places, and they've helped us out a lot of those places. Yeah.
Nice. Very cool. All right, let's take a quick break. Well, actually, first of all, yeah, the beer is great. It's you have focused that juicy quality, which I normally don't like that word, but I can't think of another word to describe it. It is a juicy tasting beer, and you focused it, and it is an intense, sort of mouthfeel expression. The hops come great. It's a well balanced double IPA that's also hazy.
Yeah,
I mean, it's good.
Yeah, happens to be hazy.
Yeah, you did a good job for sure. Let's take a quick break, clean this nonsense up, and we're going to open the last two dark beers. I'm going to make it to the barley wine, boys.
Wow. All right.
Yes.
Yeah, we're going to do it.
Bonus round.
All right, hang on a sec, everyone. It's a session. We'll be right back.
You're tuned into the session.
Because life's too short to listen to crappy radio.
All right, thanks for hanging on, everybody. We're hanging with BKS Artisan Ales, and we are going to crack open the double milk stout called Chocolatier.
Chocolatier time.
Yeah, it's a traditional doppel milk stout.
Traditional, seasonal traditional. Tell me about the double chocolate milk. Do you have just like a normal milk stout?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice. What's that one called?
It's called Holstein, like the cow,
Hol-
like the
Holsteed?
the Holstein.
Holstein. Oh,
Holstein.
like the I almost said the brand of cow because I'm an idiot.
Yeah, the milk
Yeah.
cow.
Yeah.
It's a certain
Okay, right.
certain strain of cow.
Yeah, I got it right.
Yeah, like how could you make a milk stout without a picture of a cow on the label?
Yeah, for sure. All right. Double milk stout. Tell me about it, please.
Yeah, this one. So there is a chocolatier in town in Kansas City, and he has a shop in the Bay Area. That's the only other one, I believe.
Oh, geez. Wow. Okay.
Christopher Elbow Chocolates.
Yeah, go say hi.
Oh, well.
They're absolutely amazing.
They'll be like, "Who are you?" Like, I don't know. I don't know
Now
anymore.
you know. Now you know. Anyways, so he's getting into doing some single origin expressions of chocolate, like in chocolate bars, and we started noticing like how interesting like all the flavor nuances of cacao can be. It's not just like what you might imagine, like when you're eating a piece of like Hershey's chocolate or something like that. There's like so much appreciable tobacco or like cherry or like fig, different things that pop out in there, and like how can we use this in beer? And it was a really nice like sort of thing where we just reached out, and so we'd love to make this beer during the holidays called Chocolatier, and use some cacao nib and then some vanilla bean. We have a vanilla provider in Kansas City. He did some missionary work in Madagascar and created relationships with a lot of the families that are vanilla growers out there. And he actually is like direct, like farm to retail. Like he knows the families where he's getting the Madagascar vanilla from, Sava Trading.
Wow.
And so we have that here in Kansas City and started working with them. And we fused the two things together to like bring this like milk chocolate expression together from like a little bit of lactose sugar in there, and then like the vanilla, and then this one is Nicaraguan chocolate this year. I think last year we did an Ecuador chocolate. It's Nicaraguan La Colonia Farms from Christopher Elbow, and they sell the actual single origin bar. If you're in the Bay Area or something like that, and you wanted to go down there and go to their shop and pick up a bar of it, you could actually compare it, and it's strikingly crazy. Like you can find the character of that chocolate that roasted by him here in Kansas City is in that chocolate bar.
That's crazy. Are you using the actual chocolate, or are you using the nibs?
The nibs, yeah.
Okay.
He roasts the nibs and then brings them over to us. Like,
he roasts the nibs at the.
Yeah,
okay, wow.
himself.
So does he get them? He gets them in like fermented and then shipped over.
Yeah, he finds a broker to get them from those farms, and then picks the lots, I guess, and then brings them over and roasts them, and then we're using them in the beer. And I'm very stoked about this. Like, this is like kind of one of the relationships that we had or we have with a coffee roaster in town, where I got to learn a lot about coffee in general, and then use it in beer just by collabing with them. And like, I'm really excited to like understand more about like cacao nib and the supply chain and the process for all these things, and like how it displays in beer. And like, this is, like one of the first steps for us, and we plan to do a lot more of these types of things with it.
That's a wild beer, man. What's your while I'm processing all of this, because it's a lot of flavor. What's your nib? I don't know if you know this. I'm a nib expert, as in most things. What's your nib profile? How do you infuse it? How do you put them on the? How long do you leave them in the beer? All that kind of stuff. What do you do?
Yeah, we leave them on the beer until we get the flavor we want. And right now, it's around 72 hours. And there's a temperature setting that I like for it that brings out nuance, just like with cold brew coffee. And so we just do that and sample it.
72 hours. That's it. You don't do any more. Have you ever done any more?
I don't know that you need to do anymore. It's like, maybe if I did, it could go bolder, but then I'm like, what are we washing out if the chocolate gets too big in it, right? It's like, it still needs to taste like a milk stout. I still need to find the vanilla in it, and so you just use your own taste buds.
That's a good answer, because my retort to that would be like, on my oatmeal stout, I go like 2 months, because I treat them like oak cubes, because you got all that flavor to like.
We almost sent you an oatmeal stout.
Fuck, you almost were my best friend.
Damn it.
Just this close, Alex. You almost had it. But your reply, your explanation for why you are not using the JP method of overaging it makes sense, because what are you washing out? What are you sort of compressing and hiding behind 2 month aging on nibs, or even 1 month or whatever?
I think we're accenting malt character in it.
Yeah, right. That's what I mean. This way, I think your answer is right. But maybe one day try it. Just try a little bit. Try a month just to see what happens on maybe another beer or whatever. Because I really firmly believe that the farther that beer can kind of extract more things, you get less of a chocolate. No, I don't say less of a chocolate, but it's not chocolate, but it's nib. I don't know. Try it. You'll love it.
All right. Take your word.
Yeah. You're not going to do it, are you? Alex, do it. Just do it.
Okay.
That's a cool beer, dude. Wow. That's all I got to say. It's just a cool beer. No, it tastes like fucking chocolate.
It does. That's the idea behind it.
Yeah, that's weird, right?
So if you look at the label,
who'd have thunk it?
I fucking want to know.
If you look at the label, it looks like what their boxes of chocolate look like the ribbon and the stuff that's on it. Like, that's cute. Actually, like, we passed it to them and like, hey, is it okay if we do this? It looks like your sort of thing. And here in Kansas City, Christopher Elbow chocolates are loved. People go crazy for their stuff here.
Okay.
Fights break out.
Hell yes, dude.
Fights.
Yeah,
I love fighting over chocolate.
Boulevard did this beer a long time ago, back before I got into commercial brewing. And it was called Chocolate Ale. And it was like the most wild thing. Like, people would just line up down the streets to get bottles of this. Like, I think it was a blonde ale with Christopher Elbow cacao nib in it, because people love the chocolate that he's producing here so much. He's like Willy Wonka of Kansas City.
Did you meet Mr. Elbow himself? Was he a living man?
He came back here and we wheezed the Kolsch off the tank that was in the can you had earlier. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's cool,
as
man.
As we talked about this beer. Yeah. So he likes beer. Yeah.
He has to. Yeah, that's a trippy beer, man, because it is very like you know, I'm sure everybody's done this as a kid. You take, you know, get in the fridge when your parents aren't looking, and you take the bottle of, like, you know, chocolate syrup, squirt it in your mouth. Although it's not Hershey's, which, you know, whatever, but it's that same, oh God, not even mouthfeel, but it's that same, and this is going to be impossible to describe, so I apologize in advance, but it's sort of that same tactile experience where it tastes like a very thick mouthfeel. It tastes very, almost overwhelming, almost velvety, like the most, in the truest sense of the term, velvety, luscious, and just super coating. Like, my wife makes these fucking chocolate cookies. They're like chocolate and mint, and she coats them with some sort of frosting or whatever. And I've literally gained 8 pounds in a month because I'm eating them all the time. And it's because I told her, what I'm trying to chase is this dragon of, like, eat the cookie. And it needs to get a certain mixture in my mouth. And I promise I'm going somewhere. And it's like everything's coating. And that's when I reach for the next cookie. I don't swallow it and enjoy the flavor, but it's this tactile thing. And that's what this beer has. It's that certain mouth coating, but it stays, and it's very voluminous, and it's almost like it's very well made beer, very well constructed beer.
I think it comes from the hot side of what we do on brewing. And, you know, I think there's, it's malt expression, and it's also how we build that the malt bill for all of it. And, Alex is a really good soupsman. He makes soup. Yeah. Right. Soupsman. And,
you know,
you're not a brewmaster, you're a soupsman.
Yeah, it's kind of all the same, you know, just cooking up a big batch of sugar soup.
Fuck, I love sugar soup.
Don't we all? God damn.
Is Alex on the marketing side? Because if not, he should be.
Yeah. But, we joke about that quite a bit.
We all wear hats. We all have different hats.
That's right.
Yeah.
Mine
there's like there's a lot of attention to detail that goes in on, like, maintaining pH on this type of beer. As it gets to the fermenter, and, like, that's the key, is these very acidic malts can try to drive down to a very low pH. It's like keeping that stuff in check, being aware of it, paying attention, and, like, there's a lot of stuff going on like a stout brew day, you know, a lot of, like, different things we're doing. It's very tiring and very hard to do, and he does a great job with it. So
I see him blushing. Was pH something you were working on as a home brewer as well?
Yeah.
Okay.
Quite a bit.
Yeah, you seem like tired just remembering it.
A little bit.
Like, it's
but it was like Alex and I talked about this a lot when he worked at another brewery. Like, we both were, like, watching pH from, like, brew day also to, like, the end of fermentation, and talking and trading notes about, like, well, what is happening? Like, why do certain things taste better, and what could that possibly be? And so it happens with, like, IPA, lager, stouts, everything. It's like just being aware of where those checkpoints are along the way, and why is it turning out good? You know?
Yeah, totally.
And you think pH is a hidden aspect that many people don't really talk about with beers like this? Because pH is always like, oh, well, sour beers, you talk about pH. Other than that, I don't know, what, 5.2 and you're mashing, and you never hear about it again.
Yeah, I mean, if you're, you know, the more specialty malts that go in there, you know, it's definitely something to keep track of. And, you know, you don't want it to be too sharp or...
Yeah. Do you do adjustments in the tank? Like, do you do a pH sample and you go like, oh, maybe that's a little high, let's, you know, bring it down or whatever?
No, we don't. After it's in the tank, we're kind of like,
okay,
don't mess with
it. Letting it go.
So, but it's like you're saying, Brian, it's the attention on the hot side that makes it carry over. So all the focus is on hot side pH, and then everything should be fine.
I mean, I think there is a sweet spot on stouts that we look for on the hot side, and it's a hard target. Like we have very, very hard water in Kansas City, and it actually helps us brew stouts here. And like the water is alkaline and it's hard, and so it actually balances out some of the acidity on the malts. Conversely, brewing lager and IPA and golden colored beers here is very hard to do because of that water profile. And so we have to be very careful the other way. And I would say the most meticulous thing that we're obsessive about is what our water and our pH is at all times throughout the brewing process. And it doesn't seem like it anymore to us because we kind of like have these assumptions after years of doing things. We're like, oh yeah, well, like water's looking like this today. It's like
second nature at this point.
Let's do this, And so like we monitor our in-feed on the water to be aware, because our water profile in Kansas City changes quite a bit based on the seasons. Mm-hmm.
Huge fluctuations. Like
hard to extremely hard water.
Okay, all right. It sounds kind of like the Bay Area, like the East Bay. We got East Bay mud, and we're
probably.
Like. It shifts from time to time, but it's
just funny.
Water.
It's funny because like back in the day of being a home brewer around here, it was like everyone was like, "Yeah, man, I just use the tap water." It's like, all right, it's kind of gnarly. Or like I feel like people used to be like, "Oh, Kansas City's got great tap water; it's the best." And it's like, I don't know, man. Have you tasted the other stuff?
Yeah. Right. Have you tasted it on the other side of a filter?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's just maybe what some people do to just, I don't know, make it okay that they don't treat their water. Like that's what I do. I go, man, it's fine. But I only really make dark beers anyway. I can't make light beers because I don't want to focus with pH and stuff like that. I just don't, that's not my thing. I'm not interested in that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I already know that limits me a lot on what I'm going to do, and I'm okay with it.
Right?
Yeah.
You've got plenty of the crispy stuff to go around.
Yeah, that's right.
You're good. You don't need to do that.
No, I can just go buy Heineken 00. I don't need to brew it.
Right, bro?
Yeah, that's a delicious beer, man. That is a very excellent representation of chocolate in a beer like that. Great. I would not have known that it was just nibs. I would have assumed that it was like real chocolate somehow, or like chocolate powder or something like that. That's very good.
No, we did try that once. Oh my gosh.
You did?
Yeah.
How'd that work? It sounds like it worked well.
It was good.
All right. Fine.
All right.
Yeah. It wasn't. Yeah, we're all right with it.
Not our favorite.
Nibs is a better way to go.
Yeah, we like those cacao nibs roasted by the master himself, Christopher Elbow.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Yeah, great beer, excellent beer. I'd hate to almost hate to ruin it with this barley wine. I'm going to do it anyway. This is the Recollection. This is our last beer, everybody.
All right.
And then what is that? Isn't that anniversary clock? Is that what that's called?
It is. So Recollection. Anytime we do a barley wine, Recollection, it's a different clock.
Okay.
It's set to 5:20. I don't know if you noticed that.
I was just about to ask what the time was.
Well, the reason it's set to 5:20 is when Alex was at Torn Label, we were doing a collab brew, and he would come over and drink some beers with us, and he was supposed to come over at like 5 o'clock or something like that, and meet up with me, and we were going to talk about some beers and do a collab or whatever. And he walks in, he's like, "Oh man, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm late. It's 5:20. I know I'm late." It's like 5:20, man. You have to chug beer. So the old 4:20 or 5:20 thing. So,
yeah,
it's just an old joke. So the clock is always aligned to 5:20 on barley wine.
That's
not
funny.
that anybody needs to chug barley wine, but
well, it's funny you mention that because our longtime friend Chris Rogers is in the chat, and he has he's part of a Facebook group where this stupid idiot has been chugging a Bigfoot barley wine every day this year.
Oh man,
every day, and he's still alive. I think the hospital's letting him use Facebook, which is nice, but
yeah.
So you don't need to, but you can.
Yes. So we did 520 actually as a collaboration with Torn Label Brewing Company 3 years ago when Alex was working there, and it was actually a pale ale with 5.2 malts, 5.2 yeasts, and 5.2 hops.
Oh, geez.
And yeah,
that's some homebrewer shit if I've ever heard it.
Yeah, it was a little bit. It's not repeatable, and it was just kind of a funny thing.
Yeah,
it's lived on here
good.
just as a joke. And so,
nice.
Anyways, since recollection, when you drink a lot of barley wines, you might lose track of time a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's lined to 520, and so that's why that's on there. If anybody ever is wondering.
I like it. That's cute.
This one is a rye whiskey barrels from Willett. And
shit! Look at you guys.
Yeah.
Rye whiskey from Willett. Do you get from a broker, or do you just go right to the distillery?
Yeah, we use Midwest Barrel Brokers up in Lincoln, Nebraska. They're the exclusive Willett broker in the United States right now. And I was really lucky to get some Willett rye barrels, and we did this barley wine in here. This is actually, it's probably more of a dark strong ale than a barley wine, but I like to call it a dark barley wine. I don't know that a lot of consumers know what a dark strong ale is, and so I just like calling it that from a standpoint of like understanding of what you're getting into when you're drinking it.
Yeah,
there's like some nice like marshmallowy like tobacco tannins that are in there.
Yeah, I get like the tobacco thing. I got a big hit of like golden raisin.
Ooh, yeah.
You know, just like a big centerpiece of that. It's still maybe a little too cold, right now, so it needs to warm up a little bit. But yeah, and it is very I don't want to say unbarley wine-esque, but it is sort of like on the lighter side of a barley wine than I would expect. And I think it's nice. I think it's good to like change it up because, American style barley wine, you automatically think like just big, giant malt bomb with all sorts of different character malts in it and, a nice assertive hoppiness. And it's not, there's some bitterness there to it, but it's not over the top. The malt bill is definitely more restrained than I would expect, which I think is cool. I think it's a nice, smoother, it makes it a smoother drinking experience. I think, yeah. Are you guys big barley wine people out there, Kansas City?
I think that I like barley wine a little bit more than stout personally.
Really?
And I find some, I find some like different, like sort of approach to brewing with barley wine than stout. Like it's mostly Maris Otter malt driven, right? And so like you're trying to work with like a singular malt to create an expression and find the right type of barrel to pair it up with, and what is the mouthfeel and the character of these types of things, and what sort of like barrel might match up with it. And I don't know. I just I like a little bit of a different flavor expression every once in a while, and like stouts are done plenty over and over and over again with barrel character. And
well, yeah,
you're
like,
right. How do you stand out in the market a little bit differently? Is like maybe do some barley wines every once in a while.
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Well, and I think that this is a good barley wine recipe to do because it doesn't really focus the malt in a sort of over the top direction that sometimes you can get with like a barrel aged stout. Mm-hmm. It's sort of softer. It's almost more like wheat wine-ish, where it's like a little more subdued.
Yeah.
But the mouthfeel is very smooth. It's very slick. It's almost sort of, representative of the double milk chocolate stout. Definitely not in that level, but it has that same sort of, I don't know, creaminess, I guess, is probably something like that.
For sure. 18 months in Willett barrels. And I think that's the thing with barrel aging is there's just something magical that happens at like month 18 and like into month 24 in between that. And we would taste these and be very anxious about it because we want these to come to market. Yeah. We're really excited about it. They smelled so good. Like when we would pull the bung on these, I was like, oh my God, I want to live inside of this barrel and just smell this for a while. And then you put the beer in there and you smell it, you taste it, and you're like, man, doesn't taste like it's going to the right place. And then something right around that 18-month mark, just some magic happens. It's crazy. And we tasted them at 12 and I tasted them at 14 and I still didn't like it. And then 18 hit and I was like, damn, I was like, it's close. It's here. Yeah. Yeah. It's just like, it just takes time and it's just patience. Just leave it alone. Don't touch it,
And that is something that, you can't describe that entire process of waiting until the flavors are right, unless you've done it before or you've tasted it before. And that's the part of it being a home brewer and then, a commercial brewer, I imagine as well, that sort of keeps you coming back. It's that those are the moments that you can steal that are like, wow, I've really truly created a thing.
Yeah.
It is a cool feeling.
Yeah. These were really fun to do. Just the journey you go on with it. We've never done something that's taken this long. We do some mixed fermentation and wild saison stuff, of course, which we didn't send you. And those ones will go like on a year journey or whatever. And like we don't do a whole bunch of them, but those are the most fun. Like those are the greatest things to like brew and like watch and see and learn. It's like you only have so many tries at those things in a lifetime, right?
Yeah, exactly. And Jake in the chat says, not typically a barley wine guy, but that recollection was awesome.
Jake. All right.
So there you go. Jake, you have some friends now.
Shout out to Jake.
Big Jake. Big Jake, brother.
Didn't know there was a chat going on.
Oh, yeah, it's on Facebook, but.
Oh, okay.
That's where we're at these days.
I like that, Jake.
Yeah, Facebook or bust, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, man, that's a really good. God, see, again, this is my problem. Everything sounds like a nag, but I'm struggling to describe this beer because it's so even keel. It's so smooth and so balanced and so like everything sort of runs into each other. And again, this is another beer. I think you guys are doing dark beers amazingly well because you can take these malts and turn them into sort of conversation pieces. And you can sit and really think about this beer and talk about it and deconstruct it, but not in a way, which I was trying to get at earlier, not like a nerdy dork beer guy way. We're like, oh, well, I think that, whatever, right? Like you have an empty glass for your farts and then you have a full glass of your beer and you alternate between the two. And that's not what I mean. It's like any person, the common man, can sit down and go, oh, let's just let this warm up. I taste this. And it's very much inviting you to learn about the beer rather than struggling to describe it for your own personal notes. Does that make any sense?
Totally.
Yeah, I think
it's happy to hear.
Really good malt profiles. Very good.
Yeah, it's like a lot of those. I myself am admittedly not a huge barrel beer guy. Like I don't reach for them a bunch, but like I have an appreciation for them, and our beers across the spectrum of whatever we make, I feel like are super approachable, like for wherever you're coming from, where it's like, none of it's like going to bonk you over the head and be like, oh, I don't know about that. It's like, hey, just come on in. Come on in.
It's
we're
a friend.
Having a good time.
Yes, it's a friend.
We're a friend.
Yeah, absolutely, man, for sure. Yeah, the malt it's like light brown sugar. You definitely get barrel. You definitely get some of the willet there too, but not a lot. Again, everything is really even keel, and I think you're right, Brad. It's all about knowing when to pull it off. I don't know. I can't say enough good things about it. It's a very well-rounded, very
I think
flavorful
this
beer.
is our barrel-aged English mild right here, like Imperial English mild.
Oh yeah, this is our triple.
Really?
This is our triple mild barrel-aged.
There is a little tiny bit of chocolate malt in that.
A kiss of the cocoa.
Same one.
Oh yeah.
Kiss of the cocoa. Yeah.
Yeah, good stuff, man. Absolutely good stuff. Well, that's all the beer that I have time for, or that's all the time I have beer for. I don't know, whatever. Where can everybody go to learn more about BKS Artisan Ales, my friends?
Well, you can go to our website at www.bksartisanales.com. We are also on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, all that stuff. And mostly the place you can go to find out about us is in our tasting room. That's where you can get our beers to go. And it's the only place you can get our beers to go. And also have a pour, you know?
Yeah, come on down.
We don't distro, but we are open Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday in Kansas City in our tasting room for all that type of stuff. So hopefully, if you're visiting or if you live in Kansas City and you want to find out about what we're doing, that's where we're at.
Yeah, check it out. Yeah, good stuff, guys. Again, thank you very much for sending the beers and for the chat, and everything was tasting great. Love it.
Thanks so much.
Very good stuff.
Yeah.
All right, everybody, this has been the session. We're going to take off. If you want some more beer, content, I don't know why you would. Check us out. We have a whole bunch of other stuff over on the session. I'm going to do some Dr. Homebrews releasing this later on this month, which is already the fucking 20th. So I got those to do. Some Brew Strongs to post up to as well. So we're going to be checking it out. But anyway, thanks a lot, everybody. And until next time, we'll see you later.
JP's an asshole. Justin's a nice guy and winning the race. JP does great as his cherry